Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to the Retail Corner. Today, I've got my friend Roy. He is an expert when it comes to wholesaling, not only regular things but luxury items with Stork. Roy, thanks for helping us out, man. Thanks for coming on the ship program.
Thank you so much. I'm very happy to be here.
So, you and I have talked a couple times a little bit, and but for those of you who don't know, can you kind of walk us through your CV, kind of walk us through your background? What led you to Stork?
Sure. So originally, I came 10 years ago to the US. I started a startup company on the dating world called WePo. Right after that,
Okay.
yeah. So right after that, I had actually an e-commerce agency dealing with a lot of different partners all over the world, and then I were able to actually see the luxury industry, in particular the jewelry industry, working with very successful brands and companies, and see how behind technology they are.
Oh,
Uh,
sure.
Very behind. We see people that, companies that are extremely successful running retail stores, retail chain stores, including to very, very profitable e-commerce platforms, but in fact have so many technology challenges that I really couldn't understand how they can continue to grow that business in that current stage. Um, uh, During that phase, I met my partner Tamila and also Shmulik that used to run the agency with me. Tamila was coming from the actually jewelry industry, developed a very successful jewelry luxury brand.
Okay.
So she always had that passion about how you can take a single 47th Street retail store with the amount of inventory that you have and be able actually to showcase it to the world, but not only to that, strip on 47th Street. And I think with the combination of, seeing how the industry is so behind technology and then understanding how can we utilize now technology to take luxury goods and show it to the world, that was the first
Oh,
connectivity,
sure.
first
Oh,
connection.
I mean, I'm always amazed. Like, I work with a company called Proxima 360, and sometimes we'll go into a company, and the back end of their stuff is all run on a Commodore 64, old like, PlayStation, highly modified Sony kind of thing. I'm like, how is this even running? And so, um, it's you mentioned 47th Street. Is that right? Is that a New York
Right.
reference? I'm guessing. And
Yes.
so, it's
47th
the
Street
jewelry district.
is the jewelry district of, New York City.
And so, there's a lot of business there. I mean, millions and millions and millions of dollars flow through those streets. And eh, are you finding that there's a lot of those kind of businesses that are, I mean, they're legacy businesses that are having trouble transitioning into more technology?
I believe that it's a combination. I believe that the world has completely gone digital, and the old way of doing business, the traditional wholesales and retailers, are not necessarily can keep up with this demand that exists outside, and they must transform their current business and trying to work with new solutions with them
Right.
with them the ability to extend their target audience with different type of approach.
And so you're really focused on that luxury goods market. And so what was kind of the aha moment where you focused on that?
First of all, we need to understand the luxury industry in particular is a very unique industry, right? Because it's an industry that is very protected. It's not as accessible as other type of product categories, right?
Sure.
So you need to really to deeply understand how that industry works. I think the first aha moments was that when you look at the industry as a whole and understanding how the brand works and so on, you see that there is a huge shift that continued to happen. So since pandemic, the world has gone digital, and we saw
Sure.
leading companies in the industry, for instance, like Farfetch on the retail side, who says, you know, there's no more inventory needs to be. They call it in concession. They educated over 1,400 luxury boutique stores how to go online, developing their own e-commerce platforms, because that's where the world is going. And in pandemic, we saw huge growth specifically online. People feel very comfortable today to buy luxury goods online. But at the same time, high demand are coming, but it doesn't mean the brand still really, really cares about its brand identity. They want to protect what they built. They don't want to dilute the brand. And it's extremely hard when they continue to accumulate what we call an excess inventory. Not necessarily by them, but the supply chain, which is the boutique store and the wholesalers all around the world. So you got into a position today that there is billions of dollars of excess inventory available in the market. At the same time, there is online retailers, we call them digital sellers, that need a solution for them to scale the business, scale their current business, have a constant access to luxury goods supply. But the traditional wholesale, meaning they must purchase those goods in order to continue the business, it's not a scalable solution for them to grow.
So you're not talking about just the stores. You're not talking about just the front end of it. You're talking about the full supply chain all the way back.
Absolutely.
And so like, are you seeing more and more integration within the full chain of supply, absolutely, and not just at the store level?
Yeah. So we see first of all the challenge as a whole. When we looked at what we are trying to achieve today and what make this moment for us, okay, there is a solution. Yes, it's not easy. There's many things we need to do. You need to adapt a market that, technology is not as technology driven. And how do you do it properly? So as a whole, we looked and we saw, okay, billions of dollars in inventory exist. Like, the first example of that store in 47th Street, right? Billions of dollars of inventory exist. The demand is there. The end customers feel comfortable. He buys online, and we see a tremendous amount of growth, specifically in online shopping. But those digital sellers, company who sells products online, right? They need to always have that access to the luxury inventory that is not as accessible, right?
Sure.
So what we were able to do is, or what we were able to kind of, what make us this, wow effect, is that we were able to do this first proof of concept of how we taking supply, right, and connecting it digitally to those online retailers who can right now sell it to the end customer.
So you were really hacking through the forest. You were making trails where there wasn't one right now.
Correct.
And so with any new venture, there's challenges, right? And so, like, can you kind of walk us through some maybe unexpected hurdles because everybody expected, oh, well, you need to have adoption, you need to have, policy in place and agreements and everything else like that. But were there any just hurdles that you faced early on that you weren't expecting, and how maybe how you overcome?
Absolutely. I think that the number one thing is that we're educating the market of something that wasn't before. And by doing so, you're bringing new models to an industry that used to run on a traditional wholesale. Now, the problems were always there. Just now, the problems are much bigger because of the change in economy, because of that the world has gone digital. The challenges just completely increase, and we see it. We see it by the news on the revenue decreased by the luxury brands, the dilutions of the brands. We see the difference between a lot of companies on the retail side that go bankruptcy. So the main challenges was how do you take this entire industry, right? How do you apply technology to brick and mortar stores, to boutique stores, connecting into their inventory, right? Those 1920 systems, right?
Right.
Putting this inventory
the actual ledger that they're using. Yes. Yeah.
Exactly. And how do you digitize that and make it accessible for the companies that are on the digital front, that are, by the way, much more digital driven? They know what they're using. How do you take physical to digital, but accelerate it to a level that everything is streamlined?
Okay. So what is there a specific hurdle that you weren't expecting that you overcame? I mean, there was market education, absolutely, and everything else like that. Do you have a story about overcoming that? Those troubles?
I think the specific hurdle was that we needed to have the ability communicate with this type of supply and demand partners. On the supply side, we had to educate them that there is right now a new way for them to be able to distribute a good and at the same time control the brand identity, right?
Okay, yeah. So considering all the brands, that are involved, the luxury of it, the protection that has to be involved in maintaining that brand, how does that translate over to Stork? How does that translate over to e-commerce?
So first of all, it's a very good question. I think this is one of the key to the success we have today. We need to, everything eventually, it's a combination of understanding the data that you currently have, understanding it very well, and be able to allocate it properly to the right customer. What do I mean? So a store can have multiple brands, and they right now sitting on X amount of access inventory. Now, you cannot just take all the inventory, for instance, and put it on North America and a specific customer because you dilute the brand. But you need to almost have a map of your current inventory. You also need to have a map of different type of customers in different type of countries. And as we know, there is a different demand for different brands in different countries, and be able to allocate it on a level of a SKU. At the same time, able to find the proper pricing, right, that is going to be sell in that particular country that is still not going to dilute the brand. Now, that's a big challenge, and that's where also AI coming to, right? The challenge is how do you take the data that you currently have, make it accessible still in a controlled manner, right, to be able to distribute it properly across multiple channels, and that's how you solve an industry needs.
Right. Well, I mean, I hate to say it, this is a podcast in 2024, so we're going to talk about AI. I mean, everybody's talking about it. It is so useful across every nook and cranny of the entire industry. And so, specifically, how are you guys applying AI to solve problems?
We are applying the AI in multiple ways, right? The first way is that we understand that demand forecasting and pricing is essential for growth for both sides.
Sure, of course.
So what we do is by connecting to all the systems of our supply partners, same thing with our retail partners, we are getting a lot of data that our AI technology have the ability to basically creating this dynamic pricing that combine the rules and regulations in every single country, plus the demand forecasting. For example, when you use Uber today, took you right now to a completely different vertical, right?
Big jump to Uber. Okay, what do we got?
We see that the price is changing based on demand, right? I can reserve an Uber right now from my house to my office, and 5 minutes after I'll do the same and the price will be different, right? So now let's take this example to the luxury industry. The luxury industry, there is a lot of brands. In fact, today we have 700 luxury brands listed on our platform. Oh, wow. Every brand has different demand in every location, and not only talking about a specific country, right? That can go even a deeper level. So every specific location have a different type of a demand for a particular brand. Now, add to that every single digital seller today have his own target audience, and the target audience have their own expectation in terms of pricing. And this business have his own commission structures of how he maintaining that level of business. Add to that another parameter, right? Every single country have different rules in duties and taxes when you're importing products, right? And so all those parameters that I just mentioned right now, if you know how to read them, and if you know how to combine them right now, and add this artificial intelligence that know how to continue to learn your current data and future data you receive, that's how you create this perfect solution. And not only just perfect solution, but a solution that grows with the demand, a solution that grows with these retailers, with those suppliers, That's the biggest change,
Yeah.
because today the world is evolving and you must have the technology to evolve with it.
That makes perfect sense. Makes perfect sense. And so here at Retail Corner, we like to kind of drill down a little bit and get to the like boots on the ground type example. And so, do you have a client that you've worked with that you could share a success story with us?
Sure. So, for example, one of the clients that we work with, for instance, in the UK market, there is a digital seller, a very successful one called Brand Alley. And they're very, very large in that audience. And this is the
Okay.
perfect use case, right? They need an access to constant luxury goods that they're able to provide to their customers, right? So for them, we were able to integrate and provide them on a constant basis different offers of multiple brands that they were able to sell to their clients. We were able to providing them drop shipping from multiple countries that's still fitting their SLA's time to their own customers and
Okay.
supporting the terms of their current business. So with Stork today, that company that we're relying either on buying inventory or supporting their operation by a very specific and small dropship suppliers, right now got a massive access to thousands of luxury goods that enable them right now to scale their business without this financial commitment, right? Without storing the goods, fulfilling the goods by their own. So right now, we are growing with them to, we started with one category. We're growing right now to multiple categories. Also, right now, they announced a new integration that will take this business that we have today to much, I would say, higher goals together.
So it's kind of like the front of the house and back of the house. There's the sales floor and the warehouse. Sales floor, you have a cohesive, yeah, a cohesive offering to your customers, and it's all kind of under the store's brand that the consumer trusts. But then you go through that door and you go to the warehouse, and it's literally they have access to the world market at that point, and and so they can pull anything from the world market onto their shelves and onto their offering, so that it's more, uh, uh, it's more curated even at that point. Am I getting it right?
You got it 100% right. Number one, when you're saying it's more curated, it's very important to understand that every single of those digital sellers have a specific buyer for every department, what products they're buying, and they need to be specialized because they're understanding the current market that they have. But we are data driven. By definition, what we bring them is already curated. Okay,
Yeah,
and so it's reducing tremendously the amount of time for them to source products. They do not
yeah.
need to buy inventory before they sold the inventory, right? That's
Or
a
there's no need for the commitment up front. Oh well, in order to be a partner with this brand or whatever it is, we're going to have to sell X amount, and it skips all that.
it skips all that now. Now we understand that the market is changing and brands are coming. Brands become more stronger, other brands go down, and
Sure.
the end customer sometimes also changes habits. So now they can understanding their customers better. They can play with different type of inventory in different type of segments. They can understand their customers better, right? So it's not affecting just like one segment of the business, which is sourcing. It's not affecting financial. It's not affecting full. It's affecting the whole entire business. Let them focus on what they're doing the best, which is branding, building a great customer list, providing them what they want, and we are the one that's going to be able to always, on a constant level, curate the goods for them, providing this comfortability that they can scale their business.
So you got me excited. Okay, that's all right. And so we're here. We are standing at the precipice. What's next? Where are you seeing luxury goods and this brand authorization and this brand management? Where are you seeing all this going next few years?
So, first of all, first and foremost, I said that right now on the supply side, we mostly working with all those boutiques all over the world, boutique stores and also wholesalers that in one sense needs to figure out a way for them to sell the access inventory on the proper way and continuously buying more inventory for the brand that help the entire supply chain and so on. So first we kind of tackling that.
Okay.
By doing so, the brand's receiving less access inventory back to him. By doing so, those stores have the ability to buy more inventory from the brand, and you make that accessible in a controlled manner to the right type of retailer. So you're fixing that, call it supply chain. That's step one, right?
Sure.
That's where we kind of at today. As the word goes and continues, we understand that the preference of the end customer. Now we're talking about the end customers. As we said, I always had this thinking in my mind when I drive to Manhattan every day. When you look and you see a big promotion, right? I'm saying, listen, they invest so much money for that artboard, right? But there's so many people going, it's not targeted. They don't really know
Sure.
the people that are driving. But I said the future probably will be that everyone will look at the same board, but will see something different. Now, it's maybe hard to do it with a physical interaction, right? But with digital is possible. So I believe that right now we're digitizing wholesale completely, right? The entire supply chain in the luxury space. Once we enable that, you can take it to a completely different level of curation. The market today is not involved only by this online retailers, right? There is those big marketplaces. There is online retailers. There is personal shoppers. Sure. There is Instagram and TikTok influencers. There's so many type of those like digital sellers, right? That needs to be able to adapt that solution. Same applies. It needs to go back to the brand. And by the end of the day, I see a streamlined solution that affecting specifically the end customer by seeing the goods that he needs to see, right? That he is looking for, that not necessarily other people are looking for. So that's the streamline. And that with the power of AI, how you're connecting point A, which is eventually that brand, right?
Yeah.
To point C or D, right? Which is this end customer on the
point Z all the way, yeah.
You enable them to go B2C, but without handling this entire interaction that needs to be in the middle.
That's kind of cool. I like the idea. You got me excited, and so yeah, it sounds cool.
Let me know which brands you like.
Hey, you give me the hookup. It'll be all right. Yeah, that's cool. And so, we're kind of running up against our time limit. I ask the same question to everybody, and just because I love the perspective that it brings sometimes. And so, if you could go back in time to the very beginning of your career, absolute very beginning of what you believe your career to be, and give yourself some advice, what would it be?
I think the biggest advice is, as an entrepreneur, you are going to face a lot of challenges. As you grow, the challenges will be bigger. But the way we need to look at those challenges is as an opportunities. Because when we grew the most is where we were down and we had those challenges. And if we're able to capture those moments when you're down, when it's hard, when you're getting no's from everybody, right? And be able to grow from that, learn from that, that's what's changing the journey to be an entrepreneur, and that's what makes people successful. And that's, I would say, something that's very important. Yeah.
Roy, you give me chills, man. Yeah. Oh, I cannot thank you enough for being on the Retail Corner. Roy, we're going to link everything possible below. If anybody's interested in Stork, if anybody's interested in just talking to you about how the luxury world flows, they should be able to reach out, right?
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here, man.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
If you would like to be featured on our podcast, please email us at podcast@retailcorner.live or visit our website, retailcorner.live. Looking forward to having you as our guest on our podcast, and thank you so much for listening.